All right. Now, with us on the line, we have Representative Michele Bachmann from Minnesota. Congresswoman, you with us?
I am, Butch. It's good to hear your voice.
You too. Hey, thanks for coming on. It's an honor to have you. You guys doing all right? I know you're busy.
We are very busy. I just finished a series of votes, but I'm more than happy to be on the phone with you and your listeners.
Good, good. Now, I know we have a limited amount of time with you. Fighting the gangster government is a full-time job, so I want you to get right back to it. So I want to start off just by asking about the Tea Party Caucus itself, if you don't mind. It has about 50 members now. Only 11 of those are freshmen, though. Have you found that a little disappointing, and how do you feel now about the role of the Tea Party Caucus in Congress this year and next?
Well, I'm hoping that we're going to continue to expand our ranks. I think there are a number of members who are with us philosophically, but I think part of what the Tea Party Caucus is about is listening to the American people. That's really what we do in the Tea Party Caucus, and I think it's important for people all across the United States are expecting not only words but actions. They want us to be able to act, and the biggest issue we're dealing with right now, of course, is the budget. The federal government will run out of money on March 18th, and we have just found out that in the Obamacare bill, hidden within that bill was $105 billion. And it's really like a series of post-dated checks. The president can implement Obamacare from now until 2019. We're trying to get the president to give those checks back because no one knew about it.
Right. I want to get back to that in just a second before you take off, because I know you've been working hard on that. I saw your interview with a couple of people on that topic. Just going back to the Tea Party Caucus itself, because that is kind of the banner you're taking. If you had to pick the top couple of things that you think it represents, principle-wise, what would you say that would be? Is it just the deficit? Is it financial responsibility? Is it constitutional fidelity? What would you say would be the top priorities?
Yeah, I think you're touching on those themes. I think there's three key principles. One is we believe that we're taxed enough already. Number two, we believe that government shouldn't spend more money than what it brings in. And number three, we believe that all three branches of government should act within the jurisdictional limitations of the Constitution, the parameters that the Constitution sets up for the Congress, the executive, which is the president, and also for the Supreme Court.
Absolutely. That's very well put. I'm going to go over just a real quick list of things that I feel would be proper for our government to not to be involved with or to get out of. And you just tell me if this would kind of qualify as following those principles. Selling all government stake in Chrysler and GM, would that be appropriate?
That is my opinion. Now, when I'm speaking, I'm not speaking on behalf of the other members of Congress.
Sure.
I'm only speaking on behalf of myself. But my opinion is, yes, I believe that the government should completely get out of any private industry business that it's involved in, whether it's GM or Chrysler. Because if you recall with the Automobile Task Force, President Obama did a couple of things that were very unique. Number one, he fired the president of GM and put a new president in. How bizarre does the federal government would decide who the president of a company is going to be? So then another thing that they did is the federal government gave 3,400 pink slips to 3,400 different privately held car dealerships. Well, the federal government had no business doing that.
That's true.
They took a valuable asset away from a private citizen. That is a deprivation of property without just compensation.
That's exactly right. And also, of course, they paid the previous GM executive $3,000 an hour to tell them how to actually run the business, too, which I thought was really funny. And what about Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac getting out of that business altogether, carving that up and selling that on the free market?
100%. I'm in complete agreement.
What about elimination of the Department of Education?
Yes, I believe that we should eliminate the Department of Education. We didn't have it until 1977. We know that it was a political payoff by Jimmy Carter to the teachers union for everything that they did to put him in office, and I would abolish it. And I think the reason for that would be all you have to do is look at the test scores. You have to look at the educational outcomes. Having the federal government involved hasn't had a good outcome, but it's come at great expense. And also, if you look at the Constitution, there is no constitutional basis for the federal government to be involved in local education.
Well, Congresswoman, are you making the argument that results actually matter in government? That's just crazy. I mean, how dare that be a measuring stick, right? So, okay, what about agriculture?
Well, I think that we have tremendous agriculture in the United States, and I think that policies that were put into place under FDR have actually undermined our farmers. It has led to fewer farmers in the United States rather than more farmers in the United States. And I think we could go on a long time about that, but I think that there's been some very negative consequences from having government tell people what to plant, what not to plant, pay people to leave their fields empty. I just think that we can do a lot better than what we have now.
Sure. You think that entire department could go away? I mean, there are others, but that's just one.
I think that there may be some things that where the federal government could be helpful with some basic research and some things like that, but I think that we realize that there's been a real problem with the USDA, with other departments, and so I think we could do a lot better than what we have now.
Well, absolutely. Now, the Senate has a bill sponsored by Rand Paul that, accomplishes some of this. And I know you probably haven't had a chance to listen to the show before, but we've gone through department by department, and we came up with like 6 that should just go away altogether, constitutionally and practically. There's 2 reasons to do it. Number 1, they don't help. Number 2, they're not constitutional. But Rand Paul has this bill, and I'm sure you've seen it. It's like $500 billion from discretionary spending, eliminating entire departments of the federal government. It'll never see the light of day on the floor of the Senate, given that they don't control the docket. Now, do you think if a similar bill was introduced in the House, that it would be rushed to the front of the line by Speaker Boehner?
No, I don't think it will be. I think Rand Paul and I are the only 2 members of Congress that put together a list of cuts where we tried to make some serious cuts. He came up with $500 billion. My office came up with $430 billion. And I believe we're the only 2 that did that.
Really?
Yes.
That's you realize how disappointing that is to the limited government movement. I'm glad you're sticking your neck out there, but do you have any logical reason why more Congress people who have run? I mean, we have 60 freshmen that ran on limited government and constitutional fidelity. Why is it that more of them are not sticking, behind those, aren't supporting those efforts?